Ever wondered where the silver in your iPhone or in your solar panels actually comes from? Most of it comes from just side products of other mining activities. But there is one company on the market right now that has a very unique pure silver mine located in the heart of the Moroccan mountain ranges. It's called AYA Gold and Silver, and they have recently upgraded their production to triple the output of silver. This is done in a rising silver environment, and that makes it for an extremely interesting combination. So let's dive deep into the details and see what the company is all about, what they are going to use the cash for, and what their future might look like. I'm Lee from SilverLiningAnalysis, and let's just dive straight into it. Hey, quick disclaimer, I am not a professional advisor. The content in this video are for entertainment and educational purposes only and reflect my personal opinion. It should not be taken as financial advice or investment advice. Always do your own research and speak with a licensed financial advisor before you make any investment decisions. I may own positions in the stocks that I talk about, and when I do, I will mention that at the start of the video. This is not financial advice. This is just my personal opinion, and please do your own research before investing. Thank you. Let's get on to the video. So starting off with the management, I recently received some comments from you guys that I should talk about the management less because reading out just a summary of their CV isn't really adding much benefit or much value to the video, and I do agree with that, so I'm going to keep this shorter than usual. The only thing that I really want to mention about this management team is that I'm really impressed by the fact that everybody on this management team has some relevant experience in the jurisdiction where they are working in right now. Because the company, AYA Gold and Silver, is located in Morocco, there are some different rules and some different rule of laws that apply. And it is good to see that the CEO, managing director, and the CFO all have very relevant and recent experiences in the continent of Africa and even in Morocco itself. So I do believe that this management team has a solid understanding of the continent that they are working in. They have experiences in the past, they have had successes in the past with working in Africa, with working in Morocco, and I do like to see that makes it a little bit less risky for me to potentially start investing in Africa, because I know that a lot of people look at Africa as primarily a uninvestable continent. But I do believe that with the right management team, that is a different story. So talking about that, the CEO of the company has 30 years of experience in West Africa. He has founded 3 West African focused exploration companies, and he is currently the chairman of the board of the Canadian Council on Africa. So this man definitely knows what he is doing. He knows the law, he knows the people, and he is very well connected within the continent. The managing director also has a lot of experiences in Africa. He has been a mining executive for 30 years. He has direct experiences in Morocco itself. He was the managing director of OCP, that is a phosphate producer in Morocco, and there he was the manager of about 4,500 people. So you can understand that this man not only knows the laws in the country, but also knows the people very well. Both of those are extremely important if you are working in a jurisdiction that is a little bit more risky, or at least seen as more risky by the general investors. The chief financial officer also has experiences in Africa. He has been the chief operating officer for a project in Ghana. That is really all that I wanted to say about the management. If we then look at the board of directors, we can see a very big team in the board of directors as well, where the team for the management was that everybody in there had relevant experiences in Africa working there either on mines or development projects. Everybody on the board of directors are serial entrepreneurs. So these people have less in common with the mining industry directly, but they have started companies, they have built success, they have listed these companies, and are now reaping the rewards of their very hard work in the past. You can see that Robert Taub is the chairman of the board. He is a serial successful entrepreneur. Dr. Jürgen Hambrecht is also serially successful in the automotive and the chemistry industries. And you might not really see the link with mining and exploration there, but being able to build multiple big companies and list them on the NASDAQ and list them on other public exchanges definitely requires a lot of insight in business itself. And judging by the state that AYA Gold and Silver is in right now, I do understand why you would want to have serious management experience in your board of directors. The only thing that I want to note about this board of directors is that the CEO of the company is on the board of directors, and by now you probably all know what I think about that. I always like to see them not being on the board of directors because it dilutes the oversight function that the board of directors has. But other than that, I do think that this management team and this board of directors have a very good connection with each other and are ready to face all the challenges that Morocco would offer them. Talking about the projects itself, AYA Gold and Silver has two big projects. They have 4 of them on the website. They have 3 exploration projects and 1 producing mine. Only one of these 3 exploration projects actually has a resource out right now, and so that is why I'm only talking about one of the 3 exploration projects. Their producing mine is called the Z Grounder. Their exploration target is called the Bau Madin, as you can see in these 2 pictures. First, we are going to talk about the producing asset. Their producing asset, Z Grounder, is an operational mine about 100 kilometers south of the capital of Morocco, Marrakesh. It has been in operation since the early 1980s. It is a very special operation because this is one of the only pure silver mines in the world. And usually a company says that they are producing primarily silver products, but then if you dive deeper into it, you can see that what they are producing is silver equivalent, meaning that they are producing silver with a lot of, for instance, zinc or copper or lead. But this mine is actually producing pure silver. That is why AYA Gold and Silver is seen as a pure silver play. And we are going to dive into that, what that means, how that comes, and why that is so rare. But the company has recently completed a ramp up for their production in 2024/2025. That was done and executed on time, on budget. So big props to the management team itself for managing that. And they project that their mine right now has a about 11-year mine life for a production of about 550 to 650,000 ounces of silver per month at a relatively high grade of 250 grams per ton silver. And they were projecting in their pre-feasibility and in their feasibility studies in 2022 that the all-in sustaining cost would be about $9.50 an ounce of silver. In 2025, the real numbers are a little bit higher than that. Of course, due to inflation, due to increased mining costs, production costs of the silver is well below the current silver price, so the Z Grounder is currently a cash cow for the company. And they are using that cash extremely productively in the rest of their exploration targets, as we will see in the rest of this presentation. Looking at the project itself, we can see that it is located right here, which is in the middle of nowhere. Of course, you're talking about Africa, you're talking about Morocco. That means that you are operating in a desert-like area, which means that usually you produce in the middle of nowhere. The small towns that are located near this production site are really small, but the company has good relationships with everybody in those towns. As you can see here, these are the mining claims and the exploration claims that the company has. And if you overlay that on the map that I've just shown you, you get this image. It is a little bit blurry to see, but what I want to show you with this is that their mine is located right there, and the company has a lot of potential claims that they could exploit in the future. They could start developing, they could start exploration, they could start whatever they want on these claims. So there is a lot of potential in the future for this company to expand their resource and expand their exploration. If we then look a little bit deeper at the deposit itself, you can see that this image is what came out of the studies that they have done. You can see 2 things that are very important here. In this image, you can see that the deposit goes down into the earth, which means that we're talking about probably a vein-like system. And what you can also see is that a lot of the resources still located at the top of the deposit, near the surface area of the land, which means that this company is mining this project in 2 ways. One is through an open pit mine, and the second is with an underground pit. This is what the open pit mine will look like in the future when it is all said and done, when the mining is complete. And following that, there will be a part of an underground mine. But what I wanted to show you primarily in this presentation, And what I want to do in the future as well, I want to make a little bit of a deal with you, the watcher of this video, because usually when I make these presentations, there's always something about a company that's new to me. Because I'm not an expert at this, I'm just primarily a beginner in this entire market. Even though I've been doing this for 6 years, I'm still learning something new every day. And so during these presentations, I do want to give you something that you can learn about as well. Because when I learn something, I want you to learn something as well, so that we can have a little bit of a relationship and we can grow together in this market and both become smarter investors. So what I want to teach you today, or what I want to explain to you today in this presentation, is how it is possible to have a pure silver discovery, because that is extremely rare in the world. There is almost no pure silver plays. If we look at this image, I have to say that I am not going to be able to explain this very detailed, but as far as I understand, if you have a pore-free system, that means that there is magma in the earth that contains certain amount of minerals. Usually that contains copper, gold, silver, zinc, lead, everything that we use in our everyday lives. All the materials that we know come from within the earth. They get dispersed through the earth layers, through the magma that moves within the cracks of the earth. So because this magma is extremely hot, everything within it is kind of a soup between all the materials, and all these materials bind to each other. So what usually happens in these pore-free systems is that there is a lot of sulfate present, and the sulfate binds with a lot of materials. So the sulfate binds with gold and with copper and with a couple other materials. Please don't please don't look at this as a great explanation of any of this, but that is generally my understanding of what happens, is that the sulfates bind to materials, they cool down, and that's how you get a deposit. But this deposit is a very low sulfate deposit. That means that there is nothing for the materials to bind to. So the silver that is in this deposit traveled alone without the other materials. And so because there are no sulfates, or well, low sulfates, the silver wasn't able to bind to anything else, which means that this deposit is a pure silver deposit because there are no other materials present. They haven't been carried with the magma. So what usually happens in the deposit is that the silver and the gold are within a other rock. And so you have to extract the gold and silver from within another rock. But in this deposit, because there are low sulfides, the silver is there by itself. So it is not present within a rock, it is just present between rocks. And that is what you can see in this image. You can see that the silver is kind of veining within the rock. So it is not chemically trapped inside the rock, it is just inside the rock. I hope I explained that decently. If you think this is interesting, I highly recommend that you go to another video on YouTube to try and get a better understanding of this. But I just want to trigger you to try to understand how these deposits work. And I'm also trying to learn it myself, because if I try to explain it to you guys, I have a better time understanding it myself as well. And so this is as much as a learning experience for me as it is for you watching this. Because there is silver between the rocks and not within the rock, that means that the processing of this ore is also relatively simple. How this company processes this ore is by first mining it, of course, and then you have big boulders. They put the boulders in a crushing facility. Then you have smaller boulders. Then they grind it up to a sort of a dust. After that, they put it in a gravity circuit. That means that they spin the dust around really quickly and then separate the junk from the actual silver and the silver containing ores. And after that, they leach it. And that works by putting cyanide in the silver. And there are a lot of videos on YouTube explaining how to do this actually. And it is pretty fun to watch them. But you put cyanide with the rocks and then the silver dissolves into the cyanide. And after this dissolving, you have a liquid which contains a lot of silver, but no other materials. Afterwards, you use the Merrill-Crowe method, which means that you add zinc to the liquid. And because you add zinc, the silver for some reason becomes sort of like a big brick. And then after that, you refine the silver by smelting it and pouring it into bars. And you're left with a silver that is about 98 to 99% pure. And you can sell that on to any company that needs silver. I thought that was pretty interesting, but the primary point with this entire explanation about this deposit and this ore handling is that it is a deposit primarily based on silver with a relatively simple processing plant. That means that the operations that this company has are very profitable. Right? You're mining pure silver and you're refining it in a simple process, which means that the costs are relatively low. But with a silver price that has spiked up to $92 an ounce, you can see that this company is producing a lot of cash. They are using that cash to fund the exploration of their other projects, primarily the Bouwman project. This is a project with a economic assessment done. AYA Gold and Silver currently owns 85% of this project, and this project, compared to the other project, has different materials. So a pure silver play is very unique. AYA Gold and Silver is one of the only companies that I've seen in this journey that I've had in this market that has a pure silver deposit. This deposit from AYA Gold and Silver has multiple metals, as you will see in a lot of different deposits from other companies as well. This deposit contains silver, gold, lead, zinc, and copper. So they have a projected cost for this project of about $464 million in initial capex. And the company is still drilling this project to increase the resource. But compared to a lot of other projects you see online, this is actually funded by the Z Grounder mine itself, so there is minimal dilution in the exploration of this project, and I really like that. They have an estimated all-in sustaining cost of about $9.80. Maybe when they start building this mine, the price will rise a little bit because that's just the reality of the world that we live in. You have inflation, you have increasing costs, but even if the price of the all-in sustaining cost is higher, of course, this is also going to be extremely profitable, seeing that silver is almost 10 times the price of their projected all-in sustaining costs. They are moving towards a feasibility study in 2027, so that is about like a year, 2 years away. And they are estimating to start mining if everything goes correctly, if it turns out to be feasible to mine this property somewhere mid-2030s. So you can see that this company has a projected pipeline where they are mining right now, they are making profits, and they are using that profits to build and to explore for another mine so that they can grow the company in size. And that is something that I really like. That separates AYA, Gold and Silver from a lot of other companies. If you have the funds to start your own exploration, that means that you can build an actual mining empire instead of just becoming a single producer looking for a big payout when the price of gold and silver rises. If we look further into this deposit, you can see that it is located right here. And it's also in the middle of nowhere. That is what you get when you are starting to explore in Morocco in the desert. You are eventually going to end up nowhere. These are their mineral claims that they own, and the company is currently exploring in this area of their mineral claims or their mining license. You can see that right here. So if we go back, you can see that this is the shape that it is in right here, and they have drilled a lot of drill holes, producing a quite big resource. This is what they've produced as of now. You can see that this is also a vein system. It is the same type of vein system and in the same line that their other deposit is at. So the experiences that they've used at the Z Grounder deposit, they have used here as well. So you can see that the company definitely has a good understanding of the geology and what they are working with here. The grades in this deposit tend to be pretty high. Might be difficult to see, but they've hit 12 meters of about 1400 grams per ton silver equivalent. So the grades get pretty high, so the potential mining of this deposit will be pretty profitable, probably. And you can see here that this is somewhat of a mine design. Again, it's the same as the Z Grounder project, where you have a open pit component and an underground component to this mine as well. So the experiences that they've gained from the Z Grounder project will be used and will be usable directly in this project as well. Of course, that's a added benefit that isn't quantifiable in numbers, but it is something that the management team definitely has as a positive. If we then look at the actual resource estimates itself, this is the resource estimate for the Z Grounder project, and you can see that the project only contains silver, and that is so unique and that is so interesting to see. I really like the fact that the Z Grounder project is pure silver, especially in this silver environment. I imagine that the profits of AYA Gold and Silver with this silver price are going to be really interesting to look at when they finally come out. You can see that the company has, what is it, about 100 million ounces of silver, ballpark, pure silver at a pretty decent grade as well. You can see 150 and 215 grams per ton. And this is the resource estimate for the Bau Madin project. You can see that they have silver, gold, copper, lead, and zinc. It is about a 50-50 split in this project between the gold and the silver components once you quantify them in actual numbers. So that will dilute the pure silver play from AYA Gold and Silver a little bit, but of course it's better to have two producing profitable mines than one. So please continue with this process. If we then look at the actual deposit value that the company has right now, you can see that a lot of the resources that the company has are indicated and inferred. The measured resources are the resources from the Z Grounder project, the one that they are actually mining right now. I am not going to say all these numbers out loud because there's just a lot of numbers. So you can see them right here. And if we put them in this column with the commodity price of today, we can see that the company has a maximum value of about 24.8 billion. That means if you magically summoned all the resources that the company claims that they have right now out of the ground without any cost, and you sold them for the prices that I have stated right here, you would receive about 24.8 billion. Of course, that is impossible to do. So what I always look at when I look at exploration companies is how much would another company pay for these assets were they to buy them? And I assume, and that is the research that I have done in the past, that somebody will pay about 15% of the value of the resource as a potential buyout price. And for AYA Gold and Silver, that would be about $3.7 billion. So that is the number that I am going to use in the rest of this presentation to value this project with. Please don't use this as fact. Please don't use this to base your investment thesis on. This is just some information to get some form of a guidance of what the project might actually be worth. If we look at the share structure, you can see that the company has about 142 million shares outstanding, with about 1 million warrants and 9.5 million options, for a fully diluted share count of 152 million, for a share price of $17.08 as of the recording of this video, gives them a market cap of $2.6 billion. What I really like about this project, and what is extremely difficult to obtain within this entire industry apparently, is that the management owns 13% of this company. This company is worth 2.6 billion. The management owns 13% of that. That is north of $300 million in actual skin in the game from the management. I love to see that. That means that the management is very confident in this project itself. And of course, if you have a pure silver play, if you have a pure silver mine in this silver environment, of course, you would want to own as many shares as possible of your own company. Big institutional investors own 65% of this stock, and retail owns about 22%. So that means that this company is primarily owned by big institutional investors and insiders, and the retail side is very small. I love to see that. That is a very good sign. If we then look at the balance sheet of this company, you can see that they have cash assets as of the 30th of September 2025 of about 129 million. The company also has some liabilities and some debt, about 100 million in liabilities and about $83 million in long-term debt. But given the state of the company right now and the fact that they are producing a lot of silver, I think that the debt will be paid off in the future, and I don't see that being a problem at all. If we then look at the income statement, you can see that the company sold $54 million worth of silver. They have paid about $32.9 million to do that, giving them a gross profit of $21 million. And after some G&A expenses, they are left with $15 million in operating income. That is a good income, especially in a silver environment where the price of silver was, let me see, about 2025 September, where the price of silver was about 40-ish dollars at its peak. I know it's a long time ago, right? September last year, the price of silver was between $30 and $40. Right? Seems like a long time ago, huh? When the silver price is about 92 right now. But given that the silver price is higher right now, they produce a lot of silver. They're probably going to make more money right now than they were back then. However, because this company is based in Morocco, you have the added benefit or added loss from the difference between the currencies. This financial statement is stated in US dollars, but the company operates in Morocco with the dirham, with the Moroccan dirham. The loss that they've had in the period was about 6.4 million, just because the dirham depreciated against the dollar. So if you believe, and I know that a lot of people in the gold and silver space do believe this, if you believe that the dollar eventually will lose some of its value to other currencies in the world because of the handling of the debt and the rhetoric that is going on in the world right now revolving the USA, that if that means that the dollar will depreciate, that means that this company will collect a profit based on the differences from the currency that they operate in and the US dollar. So that is an extra benefit that you can get as an investor if you believe that the dollar will go down in value compared to other currencies. Then if we look at my statement of this balance sheet, you can see that the company has $129 million in cash, they have $100 million in liabilities, and they had $6.2 million in G&A expenses. That comprises of $1.1 million in salaries, $1.3 million in professional fees, and $3.3 million in share-based payments, and about $350,000 in office and administration expenses. For all that spending, you got $14.1 million in exploration. I looked a little bit deeper into this, and it looks like this 14 million actually all went into drilling holes itself, so that is very impressive. That gives them an exploration to G&A ratio of 30%. That means that they've spent double as much on exploration than on their actual compensations itself. That is a good thing to see. The second good thing to see is that their exploration expenses are all covered by the profits that they've made from the actual mining of the silver itself. That means that the company can net out to zero. They mine on one side, they generate profits, and they put it into the ground in another side, generating a sort of an ecosystem for the company itself where they don't have to dilute their shareholders to increase their resources. That means that if you own this stock, you can expect minimal dilution but a growing resource. And that is the best combination to have in this industry as far as I'm concerned. There is still a little bit of dilution because of the share-based compensations, because of sometimes some big investors want to get in and they get in through private placement. That is just the nature of this market. Based on that, the company states that in 2024 they had 129 million shares outstanding, and in 2025 they had 134 million shares outstanding for a dilution rate of 9.9% per year. And that is definitely on the lower side in this industry. I don't know if I'm ever going to see a company who didn't dilute in a year, because it is the nature of all these companies to be dilutive, unfortunately. But this is definitely one of the better balance sheets that I've seen, one of the better companies that I've looked at, and one of the more impressive mines that are out there. So if we then look at the impact that the dilution has on the valuation of the deposit itself, I value this deposit at 3.7 billion. They have 152 million shares outstanding right now and a share price of $17.08. If everything stays the same, if they don't find another ounce in the ground, and if their share price stays the same, but they keep diluting the way that they have been in the past, you can see that the difference between the deposit value and the market cap right now is 140%, and that will drop to below 1 after about 5 years. meaning that eventually you would want this company to either sell their silver at a higher price, find more ounces, or dilute less for you to actually have a fundamental profit in your stock holdings. In recent events, the company has filed their economic assessment for the Baumann project. That is what I've used in this presentation. And they have filed a technical report for their Z-Grounder silver mine. That is also what I've used in this presentation. Other than that, stated before in this presentation, the company is also drilling their other projects, and they have recently hit the best ever mineral intercepts. And I wanted to walk through those intercepts really quickly in this image right here. Previously, I've made a video about how to read drill results, and I want to go over that again because I know that repetition is the best way to learn some things. So I wanted to go over these results and explain to you what all the numbers mean so that you can use it in the future when you are looking at drill results yourself. So if you have an intercept like this is a drill result. The first thing that you see is the name of the drill result, because they have to log it somewhere and they have to gather a database of all the drill holes that they've made, and all the drill holes have a name. Usually the names are something like this with some letters and some numbers. I don't know why they don't pick funny names for them, but you know, it's mining, so nothing can be fun, I guess. This drill hole has intercepted 2,323 grams per ton silver equivalent. So that is not pure silver, that is silver equivalent. And for the people who don't know what that means that if we take all the value of the resources that we've intercepted and we put a dollar value on all those minerals, what if that dollar value was represented by only silver? So I will explain to you how that comes into play. So they intercepted 2,323 grams of silver equivalent over 15 meters. So that means that from whatever point that they started intercepting to whatever point that it stopped was 15 meters. And within those 15 meters, they have found 3.3 grams per ton AU, that is gold. They have found 1900 grams per ton silver, AG, found 4.8% zinc, ZN, and 1.8% lead. So this silver equivalent means that we're going to take all of these resources and we are going to act like all of those resources are just silver. How much silver would we have if everything was silver? And that is 2,300 grams per ton. But there's actually there's actually 1,900 grams per ton actual silver in there, and the other gram per tons are the gold and the zinc and the lead. But including in these 15 meters, right? So you have 15 meters that is mineralized, right? With an average of 2,323 grams per ton. But within that 15 meters, there is a smaller part that is actually higher grade than the rest, because it includes 3,858 grams per ton silver AG EQ equivalent, silver equivalent, over 8.7 meters. And then what that consists of. So that means that you have this much that is mineralized for 2,323 grams per ton, and you have this much that is mineralized for 3,858 grams per ton. So that is how they say that there is a bigger zone within a zone. All of these results, of course, are extremely good. They're high grades over pretty big intervals. I really like to see that, and the results speak for themselves. Now that you know how to read these results, you can read the rest of the results yourself if you're really interested in that. And then if you want to take it one step further, you can try to figure out how these drill results compare to past drill results and where they are located. So I'm going to challenge you to do that by yourself and to give you the opportunity to also make a mental picture of this deposit itself. I think that is a very good thing to do with all of these mining stocks and with all of these deposits. So in my opinion, this is a very focused management team with extremely relevant experience. I really like to see that everybody in this management team has worked in West Africa, they have worked in Africa, or they have worked directly in Morocco itself. Because we are talking about a continent that is seen by many investors as extremely risky or uninvestable in general, it is extremely beneficial to have a management team that is directly boots on the ground, experience driven in the country itself. They are a growing producer in a rising gold and silver environment. That is really good to see. They have one of the only pure silver plays in the world, and with silver rising extremely fast, you can expect this company to reap the benefits of that directly in their financial statements. They have a healthy balance sheet right now with a lot of cash on it and a minimal dilution rate because they are self-funding their exploration through the profits of their sales of silver. The profits are potentially rising in the future, so there might actually be a play of expanding the exploration as well, creating more ounces and creating more value for you as a shareholder. I really like to see that. So the company is based in Morocco, which means that they are experiencing fluctuating currency exchange rates between the currency that they use in Morocco and the US dollar. That has led to a loss in the past, but it can lead to a profit in the future if the dollar devalues against other currencies in the world, primarily against the Moroccan dirham. There is still a big part of this deposit left, especially in the pure silver play, and they are growing their deposit in the other project that they have. Currently, I do not own this stock. It is definitely top on my watch list. I am of the opinion that there might be a little correction coming at some point for the price of gold and silver. And when it does, I will be jumping into this stock and I will make a probably pretty decent sized position. I can see AYA Gold and Silver really becoming a cornerstone of my portfolio in the future because I really like everything that I'm seeing right now about this company. That is really all that I wanted to say. Thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, make sure to leave a like. That really helps the channel a lot. Subscribe to the channel to not miss any future uploads, and leave a comment on what you would like to see next. Alright, thank you. Bye bye.